The biggest problem with AI is not the technology. The biggest problem with AI is that people keep talking about it as if what they think and how they feel about it applies to everybody. So I bring this up because I was watching a video called "The AI Artists Are Panicking," and I left a comment in the thread. So check this out. Somebody commented on the video, said, "I once heard someone say, why would I bother reading something nobody even bothered to write themselves?" And the reply that I left to that comment sparked a conversation and debate that's been going on for weeks. And I want to highlight some key responses that seem to indicate which way the wind is blowing in a lot of the feeling that people have about AI, why they hate it, why they think they hate it, and what they think they hate about it. Right? So I said to this reply here, fast forward to a future when 90% of everything is AI generated, and 90% of people don't know the difference and couldn't care if you told them. And I'm not trying to advocate for this to be the future. I'm not saying that that's what I want to have happen, but a lot of people responded to it as if I was cheerleading for that. For example, here's someone saying, pessimism like this only helps fascists, whatever that means. They said, we need optimism right now. And I was trying to point out that, like, this is what I'm trying to say. You get to choose to be the thinking elite in a world where 90% of people are just going to be so dependent on this technology that they've just lost the ability to think. They've lost all sense of taste or even preferences because they just get the AI feeding them stuff all day long. They've outsourced their thinking to the chatbots. I'm not saying that has to be the way it is for each individual person. I just see how people generally are and figure that's what's going to happen for a lot of people. But you and I at any point can choose to go a different way. Another one of the ones that I saw was saying somebody just this kind of thing. Exactly. AI is stupid. Of course, I had to point out that a hammer is stupid if you're trying to make breakfast instead of build a house. And it's this kind of thing that I was just talking about, where people have an idea about how things should be that doesn't seem like it's even particularly thought out, but it applies universally. This is what I think, and so this is the only way that anybody thinks, right? It couldn't be used for any other purpose. There could be no good to it, right? This one I kind of like. There's a little more thoughtful. They're saying you're assuming that artists and writers who do not use generative AI are going to stop creating. And I'm like, when did I say that? I never said that. In fact, if I was going to get into it, I would talk about how what they're describing actually opens up a gap in the market. If you want to turn your back on AI completely and only put work out that's hand done, no digital or AI involvement whatsoever, that's now a premium product. That's now your unique selling proposition. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I tried to get across here. But I also know that there's, what I said here is like, I assume that the same market forces that are why an ever smaller number of soulless corporations control most of what we see, read, or hear are going to continue to grow in influence and power. What I mean by that is that there's people right now that are making music and reading books and does it reading books? Writing books. There's people making stuff that outside of the mainstream, but how much of that stuff gets consumed by the masses versus the music that's in the Billboard Hot 100 or the movies that are the top 10 rentals of the week, right? How many people actively go out of their way to find stuff off the beaten path versus just consuming the same stuff that's part of the ongoing popular conversation? You know what I'm saying? This one I really, really liked. You got somebody who's bringing up the fact that in 1995, a lot of critics said something very similar about how Toy Story is coming out and people don't want to watch something that was animated by a computer. And somebody had to jump in and point out that, well, hold on. Humans were animating every frame and putting in all the work. The same can't be said for AI, right? It seems like a lot of people have this idea that AI means that you just push a button and it gives you the perfect output and then you hold it up and wave it around and go, look what I made. If you were able to accidentally make something really good that quickly, then God bless you. Show it to me. I'd love to see it. But this is all by people, it seems like, who have never tried it or really spent any time with it and understand what it takes, which is why I put, you click a cursor on a screen, you type a prompt into a prompt box. Is it really all that dissimilar? Right? I think the comparison between the 1995 Toy Story wave and the current AI wave is totally apt. And the only reason, literally the only reason why AI hasn't burst into the mainstream and conquered Hollywood is because of the unions. The studios are beholden to the unions, which is why I see a very near future where the tech companies become the new Hollywood because they can get 5 guys to make Lord of the Rings in a basement for a tenth of the cost. You know what I mean? And that's going to be a lot more attractive to the studios and the corporations. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying I understand the incentive structure. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, you got this person saying, I'm a very practical person, but the AI generated images and text just make me feel soulless from having witnessed it. And I was trying to tell them that it's kind of like visual effects in movies. People for a long time would complain about CGI in movies, but the whole thing is they weren't complaining about CGI because good CGI, they didn't even know it was CGI. They didn't even know what they were looking at. It's the bad CGI that sticks out and gives the whole thing a bad rap. And that's where it's all going with this AI business. So what I think people think that they're arguing about is like morality and optimism and artistic purity. But really what they're actually arguing about is authorship and status and meaning. And if I'm being really, really bold, I think that what's getting triggered in a lot of people is this idea that AI is taking the excuses away. And if you've got it in your head that you're going to do this grand work of art that's going to be the greatest thing ever, even before AI was around, I used to talk about this a lot, that like people who like see themselves as, you know, having all kinds of potential, but they never go for it, right? It's because there's a comfort in knowing that it could have been something, right? As long as you never try, the potential exists that whatever you were going to make was going to be the greatest thing of all time. But once you actually like commit pen to paper, or in this case, commit prompt to the computer and make something, then you've taken what you've got in your head or what you wanted to make and put it out there for the cold light of day. And when the rest of the world doesn't care, it's kind of like, oh, okay, now what? This is why you got to have a lot of ideas and you got to keep making a lot of stuff. And I know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking as a guy who used to stand on the street corner with my comic books that I made and like hoping against hope that I could get people to stop and buy them from me on the street. And that's how I earned a living for 3 years before I even owned a smartphone, let alone a computer, let alone any of this AI kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Anyways, I want to know what you think about all of this. So, of course, drop a comment in the bottom. And also, I was sick all last week. So if I look like hell or I sound really bad, then thank you for bearing with me. And we'll see you next time.